Hi, welcome to Carnegie and our interview with Maha Energy. My name is Markus Almerud. I'm an analyst here at the bank. I got with me Kjetil Solbraekke, who's CEO at Maha. A warm welcome, Kjetil.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure to be back.
So, lots have happened in Maha over the past years. How would you characterize Maha today?
Oh, excellent. Of course, we are listed as an E&P company. But I guess behind your question is like we are not necessarily a very normal E&P company, and I think that's true. We are more of a private equity oil and gas company. We believe that we have a good competence and experience in doing deals, always looking for better opportunity to create more shareholder value. So yeah, expect to see continued changes in the company, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And if we start out with maybe the 3R, that's where most things are happening right now. You bought 5% of the company in January, and you have Paolo and Fabio, who's on your board, is also on the board of 3R. Tell us a little bit about the background of this purchase, if we start there, and maybe a little bit of 3R for the ones who are not.
Yeah, of course. No, very good. I think, in the background, I would say, there are two main reasons. One was basically that we saw an opportunity. Mm-hmm. We saw that a company we knew very well, being 3R, that we actually founded. The two big owners in Maha founded 3R 5-6 years ago. Made the first investments, so we know that company better than I would say anybody. And we saw the level it was trading on as a fantastic opportunity to buy into the most cheap barrels we could find in the industry, at least with the level of knowledge that we had on these assets. So it was basically a very good opportunity to buy into something we were very familiar with at a very favorable price. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I think we also saw that now the Brazilian market is more than mature for a consolidation. So we saw getting into 3R, I think we believe that we could be the force that could actually trigger a consolidation, which we have also then proven that has been the case. So we saw various and different opportunities for doing this consolidation, and I'm sure we'll come back to that in your following question, knowing you're right.
Yes.
But I think the main thing was basically that we saw a great potential to buy barrels at a very favorable price with a portfolio we know very well, and we saw the opportunity to consolidate this into an even better company.
Mm-hmm. Because if we continue on that track, obviously when you bought the 3R position, you also sent an open letter to Petroleum and Enauta board to suggest the business combination, and this is now changed. So now it's Enauta, which has in turn proposed a combination with you. And the terms and conditions of this deal has now been approved by both boards and will be sent to EGMs. So same question basically, tell us a little bit about Enauta and the transaction.
Yes, so first I would say that, as I already mentioned, we saw several different opportunities. So it wasn't like the only opportunity we saw was doing it with Petroleum and Enauta. We thought that was an interesting opportunity, and we looked also at the others. And I think basically what happened was that Enauta really saw the opportunity to work very fast on proposing something that we could implement very quickly. We do like the portfolio of Enauta. Again, we looked at buying a stake in their main field, Atlanta, some years ago, both Starboard and ourselves. So again, it's an asset, the main assets in Enauta is something we're very familiar with. It's a sweet crude, so has actually trading to premiums to Brent, going a bit up and down, but basically has a very, very favorable price. It's an asset which are now de-risked considerably over the last year. There's a new FPSO coming to the field, and will be hooked up and have commissioning as we are speaking. It's in the process, and with that in place, we do believe that you will have a very stable good and increasing production coming out of Enauta and Atlanta. There are also other fields in their portfolio, Olivia, which is basically another smaller Atlanta, and also other opportunities that they have, also including exploration. So we think it's a very good portfolio, mixed together with 3R portfolio, and I believe that the merged company has great opportunities going forward. One very important issue is, of course, that we are merging Enauta practically or with very limited debt into 3R, which has significant debt. And together with the combined company, we'll have a very strong balance sheet, and we'll be able to drive down the cost of this debt significantly in various ways.
Okay, okay. And talking about, because you were into here buying part of Enauta before, you've been looking at that before. But you also have a direct ownership in 3R Offshore, which came in through the DBO. And this will now be rolled up into the combined company. What is the background of this? I mean, obviously it simplifies the structure.
Yeah, I think really, again, first of all, I think the transaction we are doing with rolling 3R Offshore into the new company shares demonstrates that we are already kind of proving in a way our capability of increasing the value through our transactions. So the DBO transaction, I mean, over the last year, since we had the acceptance of the DBO transaction in Maha, we have now doubled the value of that position through this merger into 3R. I believe that has another chance of being doubled. I always spoke very well about both Peroa and Papa-Terra, favorite assets. We have exchanged them into a huge portfolio, thousands of wells, with very similar, actually, upside opportunities. So, of course, I believe it's better to have a broad portfolio with upsides than just have one or two single assets. So I think that for us, this demonstrates that we have created value, and it gives us more or less the same upside, but with a totally different risk profile.
Because I would assume that when you released the news, or when we were discussing the Petroleum and Enauta, in that presentation material, you also showed significant growth in the assets, and that has not changed. So that potential is still
absolutely there. We're not making this transaction because we are worried about Papa-Terra or Peroa. I think that has a tremendous upside, and it says everything that, you know, I think the P to NAV kind of multiple is equal in the whole portfolio as we saw it in Papa-Terra and Peroa. So yes, I believe Papa-Terra and Peroa will create great values for the new combined company, as I do believe that the rest of the portfolio will do also.
And if this all goes through, you will have about 5% ownership in the new company, so it will be a key holding for you. If I look at the other holdings, so you have an option to buy part of Petroleum and Enauta, if I pronounce it right, who has assets in Venezuela. So maybe we start there. What is the current status of those assets, or that option, that opportunity?
Yes. So as we have talked about several times, I mean, we have an option. I think what is for us very clear now is that this is something we will definitely pursue. I personally visited fields now on several occasions, spent a lot of time in Venezuela discussing with the authorities. I've been to Washington discussing with the State Department regarding getting an OFAC license. So I'm actually I believe I have good reasons to be optimistic on getting a license from the Americans on doing this, simply because I observed that companies are in similar situations, they get the license. So, and the preliminary feedback, I would say, is also very positive. But, of course, we have to get it first.
So maybe we start here a little bit to explain, and then to kind of maybe dig into these issues, because they're very complicated. So you had the U.S. government GL 44, which was there invoked, which gave an exception to make oil and to transport oil out of Venezuela, and this has now been revoked. And you talked about a license that you have applied for. So explain a little bit of what's going on in the background of these two.
Yeah, I think Without going into very much details on the general license 44 and so on, I would say the main thing is that when we actually started this, there was no general license 44. So we are back to where we were before we had the general license 44. So in that sense, actually for us, nothing changed. I think, if anything, we see that the whole environment now around licenses and so on is looked upon as how can I say, more accessible, you know, to get these licenses. I think as we interpret this, it's like in the Americans' interest to keep pushing the regime in Venezuela for development into having, you know, the elections and so on. But I also think that they have their own interest in actually maintaining oil production in the country. So I think for us, really nothing much has happened. I think the license, General 44, is now being replaced by individual licenses. So you need to get an individual license. This is what Chevron has. This is what Prom has received. This is what Repsol has received, and it's what Shell has received.
So there are others which you can lean back to.
We can basically look at what has happened on others, and of course, yeah, there is no expectation that we will be treated very differently than, for instance, Maurel Prom.
Yeah, and if you were to get this license, I would assume that the potential for these wells is tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the first one to say that there's a lot of oil in Venezuela. So there is obviously a lot to be done in Venezuela. And Petroleum and Enauta, we have now been able to, you know, visit the field. We have talked to the organization. We still have received kind of limited information formally because we are still not approved as a partner, and that's fine. You know, the fact that we can go there, the fact that there is actually a lot of public data available also on this, means that we are very comfortable on the potential to increasing the production and increasing the value in Petroleum and Enauta. Personally, I would say, you know, maybe being, not even being too optimistic. I think that we will be able to take the production up to north of 20,000 barrels.
For the whole company?
For the project of Petroleum and Enauta.
And then maybe a couple of words about Illinois, because Illinois is the other remaining asset that you actually have, which is producing. What are your thoughts about Illinois?
No, first of all, I'm extremely proud of the people working in Illinois. Basically, there are two, and they are doing a fantastic job on running a business with 60 wells operating. This year or last year, they drilled 3 wells. We did some study of having tracers into these the previous wells. And with that, we improved the fracking methodology somewhat, which has worked. So we have seen now in these last wells that we are increasing our production compared to what was in the typical type curve, as we call it. So I'm very, very happy with the development. We are planning now to drill further wells, starting with 3 wells, and that's something we are starting up already next month, I believe, and look forward to see also that developing. It doesn't have the same upside potential, obviously, as Venezuela and some of these other things, but it's a steady business, very traditional onshore activity in the US. We have great people working on it, and so I think the risk is fairly low. As long as the oil price is where it is, I think we are making a very good return on these investments as well.
So it seems like lots of milestones, lots of things are going to happen in the fairly near future. But maybe to round off, if you look at your focus and Maha's focus for the coming maybe 6 to 12 months, but also the 12 to 48 months, what would you say?
I would say first and foremost now is really to establish ourselves in Venezuela. And the most important thing is, of course, our project that we're already starting on Petroleum and Enauta. So we need to basically get the OFAC license, get all the approvals from Venezuela, close everything with Novanor. I think we want to take them out 100%. And then start building the operating organization, which is already in the making. We have people on the ground in Maracaibo, we have people on the ground in Caracas, we have opened an office in Caracas. We are in good dialogue with several suppliers. We know we have access to the equipment we need. We're going to do this very gradual. We're going to test, do some well testing, changing lifting mechanism and so on, being a bit technical into this, proving that we are an oil company. and then I'm very confident that we will demonstrate significant good results out of those tests, and then immediately put them into permanent production. And so that's the most important thing we're doing now. Then of course we are looking into new opportunities, coming back to the private equity part of our company. So of course we are already in good dialogues with several other business opportunities. I think, as always, you know, make sure that we deliver on the first one, but in parallel, yes, we are going to develop more opportunities in Venezuela as well. So I would say the first and foremost important issue to look for in Maha would be our development in Venezuela. Then I would say that, you know, we are also very pragmatic, and we look also for other opportunities, mainly in Latin America. So who knows, maybe if the right opportunity comes up, we'll be ready for that one too.
Kjetil, thank you very much for coming here to talk to us.
Thank you, pleasure.
Thank you very much for listening.